guys, this is Azerlin with a quick review of The Technomancer. The Technomancer is a third-person RPG adventure that takes place on Mars in a post-apocalyptic world. You play as a Technomancer, and you possess electrical powers in addition to your traditional fighting skills. Mars is a war-torn planet, and there is conflict between many of the factions, and you're trying to fight for peace and justice in any way that you deem necessary. As you play, you make choices that have an effect on the final outcome of the game. The story was decent and it made sense, but I didn't find myself fully immersed in the plotline. There were a few interesting characters, but for the most part, I just didn't feel a connection with many of them, especially the protagonist, possibly due to the voice acting. The game is open world and it has crafting and a good amount of skill customizations to choose from. The crafting was a bit disappointing though. It was easy to use, but it was only helpful to create consumables and some minor upgrades for your gear. I would have liked to have actually crafted my own gear specific to my character build, but I never once found any crafting recipes. There are 3 different combat stances, and you could quickly change between them while fighting. Each stance has their own weapons and special ability. It's a good concept, but I feel like it's impractical to stance because it took several skill points in one tree to feel the least bit effective in combat, and there was no way to respec from what I could tell. The graphics are great and the game looks fantastic, and the atmosphere and the environments give off that post-apocalyptic feel. My only complaint about the graphics was that the character speaking animations were not in sync with what was actually being said. Most of the time the voice acting was fine, but some characters weren't acted as well as others, and there was definitely room for improvement. Some of the music was good, but I found the music in many parts was repetitive and not very enjoyable. I especially questioned the choice in music during a lot of the combat. It definitely did not get me pumped up about fighting, not even in the slightest. It almost had the opposite effect, but I suppose the semi-annoying music was well suited to the semi-annoying combat system. The combat was extremely frustrating at times. I died a lot early on before I got all my combat skills upgraded. And even after having everything upgraded, I still died once in a while when enemies would swarm me. I went a heavy rogue build, but I was disappointed to find out that stealth was basically useless throughout the game. And it sometimes took a while to kill things since my damage felt very weak compared to the enemies. I would just dodge roll over and over, fire off my gun and other Technomancer abilities when they were off cooldown, and then land one of my 2 melee attacks whenever possible. One thing I really hated about the combat was the slow motion animations. It was insanely annoying and completely disruptive to the flow of combat. I can understand a slow-mo effect on getting a kill, but when it's constantly happening, it was just irritating and pointless. The combat was the most annoying part of the game, as it felt repetitive and painfully drawn out with all the slow motion animation. I would have liked to have seen some really cool finishing moves to go with the slow-mo, and some more attack abilities with unique animations within each stance. You get 2 companions to accompany you and fight with you throughout the game, and like most games with AI companions, they would sometimes get in the way and sometimes get caught on the terrain. But it wasn't so often that I needed to dismiss them. They were tolerable to keep around, and they did help me not get swarmed as quickly. However, they were just a temporary distraction while I picked off as many enemies as I could before they would inevitably die. The Technomancer took me roughly 14 hours to finish. There were side quests that you can do that give some insight into some of the companions, but some of them also force you to take that companion with you, and once you accept it, you can't change that certain companion until you complete the quest. And I like that there were optional side quests, but I don't like that I couldn't change my companion because I accepted it and had no way to abandon it. The Technomancer had a good amount of content, but the game does have some issues, and the combat was just not as enjoyable as it could have been. I can see people raging and giving up after dying a lot in the early game, and it's understandable why they would because I felt discouraged at times as well. The Technomancer was an alright game. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great, and nor was it a memorable experience either. I hope this review has helped you. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and post your feedback in the comments below. Thanks everyone, and have a wonderful day.